This is the S&P 500 SPDR ETF SPY one-day reading for November 2024. It's currently October 8th, 2024, 1:55 p.m. Eastern Time. SPY at the time of this reading is $571.49, that's USD. And the shuffle video for the November reading was created on August 21st, 2024 at 4:54 p.m. Eastern Time. What we cover in this monthly video of SPY is the following. We go over the overall theme and behavior as far as the chart behavior for SPY throughout the month of November. We identify the timing of any events that might help or hinder that trend down to the day. We give you information about the highest high and the lowest low, and then we'll get into the day-by-day chart behavior, as well as timing the highest highs and the lowest lows, So then we're going to take a look at the previous monthly SPY reading and see how we're doing thus far as accuracy is concerned. And then we're going to come back and we're going to give you the best trades that we see throughout the month of November. So stick around for that end. Super valuable information. And also, I'll just point out, guys, if you've signed up for our free newsletter on our website, Tarot for Traders, then that's the earliest you can get access to this monthly SPY reading without paying for it. The other way to get it is to pay for the early access subscription on our website. I'll show you how to do that at the end of the video, but that'll also get you access to the Discord trade alerts and live updated trading view chart for SPY as well. Again, stick around after we go through those best trades. We're going to get into that. I'll show you guys how to do that. All right, so let's get into it. So the overall theme and behavior for November, when we take a look at the theme card being the Princess of Cups, there's a couple ways that the theme card as the Princess of Cups will play out on a monthly scale. You're definitely going to see decline, that's for sure, on a multi-day scale. Sometimes it's just a straight decline throughout the entire month. Often it's not. It'll be a decline followed by a notable move to the upside, because the Princess of Cups is usually an opportunity in the midst of a decline to open up a long position or close a short position. So we'll look at that in more detail as we progress through the reading, where that opportunity we think that is. It's crossed with the Truce card, which is, it's interesting. So there's a resistance level that on a multi-day scale that we're going to rally into, and then pretty abruptly from it, we'll turn around and we'll decline pretty notably. And usually with the Truce card, that decline will go past the point at which the rally that went into the resistance had started. So you'll end up bearish with the Truce card in that case. So we're going to see that at least once taking place in the midst of the decline. Behavior around the highest high, we have a rally on a multi-day scale offering opportunity to open up a short position and close long positions. It looks like there's a lot of trade opportunity. Basically all of the trade opportunity that really on the ESO meta level right off the bat is pointing towards this month as being a significant trade opportunity. Behavior around the lowest low for the month of November, we have a failed attempt to break through key resistance followed by a decline through key support. That's on a multi-day scale, and the decline will take us through key support into the lowest low for the month. But what's important about this failed attempt to break through key resistance is that it's disappointing because we're going to likely be expecting to break through it based on technical analysis. Usually what happens is there's false support established before this move to the upside. So the false support is established, big move higher, testing resistance, looking like we're going to break through. Instead, we turn around, we decline through the falsely established support. And usually that test at resistance was just a failed attempt previous to the establishment of the false support. On the first, we have a decline through multiple support levels. We also have a new moon taking place on the first. Usually what happens with a new moon is it'll be preceded by, within a few days ahead of it or to the day of, you should have like some sort of top form. The fact that we've got a Mercury retrograde shadow commencing on the 7th of November, that'll definitely throw off the reliability of the moon cycle. It's usually the moon cycle is the most reliable indicator there is, literally. But it has its times, like during Mercury retrograde, where what you expect of the moon is not what you get as far as how it impacts the market or, what transpires in coordination with its cycle. All right, and so then we have 3 local lows on the 4th. What I mean by local lows is when you're taking a look at a one-day chart of the 4th, you're going to see troughs form or 3 lows of some kind. There's also a breakout midday. It'll stand out on a multi-day scale. Breakout midday, but it doesn't last. We end up with a sharp decline off of a peak. So there's like a second peak towards the end of the day, and it looks like a pretty sharp drop overnight into the 5th. The decline probably continues on the 5th, but out of that decline, there's a big move to the upside. It's like in the face of seemingly overwhelming headwinds or overwhelmingly negative chart behavior. We expect it to go lower based on technical, something like that, but instead it moves to the upside anyways, and it'll move to the upside out of that decline starting on the 5th. It'll meet a key technical price level of resistance on the 6th on a one-year chart scale. That's significantly important. There should be 1 local trough on the 5th and 3 local troughs again on the 6th. And then on the 7th, we have a notable move to the upside. Likely we decline off of that technical price level of the science card, which I'll mark off when we get closer. I'll mark it off on the chart. We have this rally to the upside on a multi-day scale standing out on the 7th, and it offers opportunity to close longs, open shorts. We should see a decline taking place commencing on the 7th, revisiting a support level that we recently saw in the past. And then there should be like a U-shaped dip, so we come out of the 7th in decline, and like we moved back to the upside on the 8th, breaking through key resistance on a multi-day scale, just staying above it briefly before breaking back down through it shortly thereafter. thereafter with the full retracement, kind of making like a capital A in the English language. If the price level that we break momentarily was like the horizontal line of the A, we should see a prominent peak. There's likely a prominent trough somewhere around the 5th, 6th on a 1 month scale, prominent peak on the 4th, maybe 2, but the first one of them would be higher. We've got a prominent peak on the 7th, a prominent peak on the 8th, and then on the 11th, we likely open lower, or we gap down over the weekend, and then right around the open, there's this big move to the upside, rallying from the bottom of a range to the top of a range. There's significant opportunity there, trade opportunity on a multi-day scale I'll talk about towards the end of the video. Oh, but be mindful, so this big move to the upside, there's one local peak on a 1-day chart of the 11th, so this big move to the upside, probably the retracement of it again starts on the 11th, continuing into the 12th. We have a decline to and through support to meet another support. We rotate sideways along that support, and then midday there's like a pop to the upside, like a breakout that doesn't really hold, and then we do some sideways rotation into the end of the day. On the 13th, a rally along a diagonal trend line on a multi-day scale, breaking through horizontal resistance to meet another resistance before pulling back to somewhere between those two price levels. And there's one local trough, one local peak on that day. The local peak will likely be at an important technical price level on a 1 month scale. Usually what we get with this double X, it's usually a lowest low of some kind, but it is in a precarious location on the board, so I'm not 100% on that just yet. It'll build as we move forward through the reading, but so probably a drop on the 13th into the 14th, and then a big move to the upside out of a prominent trough into a prominent peak. It'll be a big move standing out on a multi-day scale. There's also going to be some decline in there, probably early in the morning or at the very beginning of the day, that offers opportunity, and we'll talk about that in more detail as we progress. Around the 14th, there should be volatility and a sharp drop around the day's high there. And then we've got the full moon on the 15th, multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance taking place on the 15th. Usually what coincides with the full moon, or within a couple of days or a few days ahead of it, is like the peak of fear in the market for the month. But again, we're in the midst of Mercury retrograde shadow, which is much more influential when it happens than the moon. It just only happens at certain times of year. The one way that you can rely on it to impact markets is that your expectations, your normal expectations of what the chart would do based on technicals or based on, routine happenings, those expectations are not what happens during Mercury retrograde. That's about as certain as you can be. I'm going to tell you where I think the highest high and the lowest low for the month towards the end of the video, right before we get into the best trades that I see. All right, so it looks like we have likely a gap down over the weekend into the 18th, a sharp decline on the 18th, 2 local lows. It's probably mostly decline, gap down, and then a lot of price change out of like the 2 local lows taking place on the 18th, probably moving to the upside until we're doing sideways rotation near the day's high on the 18th. On the 19th, another big move to the upside, reaching for distant resistance. On a multi-day scale, there's a prominent peak there on a multi-day scale. On the 20th, there's an important range on a multi-day scale that's highlighted. It could be that we're seeing one end of the range or that we're bound within one. We'll look at it a little bit more in just a moment. There's one local low, and there's also a notable decline on a 1-day chart taking place on the 20th that'll offer opportunity to open up a long position. So likely what I see is like a peak early in the day at a key technical price level on a multi-day scale at the top of a range, and then we should decline from that pretty notably, like with a retracement. The rally into it will be retraced, and then either at the end of the day on the 20th or on the following day, we have another fast sudden move higher to the upside. There's also a notable decline on a multi-day scale taking place at least part of the day there that'll offer opportunity to open up a long position, and I'll talk about that towards the end of the video. Again, it looks like we come up to that peak again on a 1-day chart there on the 21st and have another full retracement, and then on the 22nd there's 3 pokes through the same trend line followed by a sharp drop off of that 3rd poke. We go from a peak early in the day to a trough at the end of the day. It looks like we probably come up against that resistance level here around the 17th, this truce card resistance somewhere here around the 14th, 15th, and then there's a probability that we're coming up against it again here around the 22nd. We finish the day lower on the 22nd. So we have a cross-reading congruency appearing here on the 25th. This is the high card of the 2025 reading. This is the high card, and it's appearing in the November reading, which when we look at the 1-year reading, we also have the probability of a highest high here taking place, right? Here's the fee card, here's the science card, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that high takes place on the day up, because it's a greater energy than just one day. Remember, it's a cross-reading congruency for a 1-year chart scale reading, so it impacts the whole reading. It just appears usually in in the reading. So not the best reliable thing for timing sometimes, but most of the time not so much. In either case, on the 25th, we have 3 local lows on a 1-day chart, and there's a failed attempt to break through key resistance on a multi-day scale, followed by a decline through key support. Notable fake out or shakeout, some sort of intentional fake out or shakeout taking place on the 26th, so be really mindful of that. 2 local lows and a local high on a 1-day chart there for the 26th. And then there's a resistance level on the 27th that we failed to break through many times before, that's highlighted there. Usually we decline off of that resistance level pretty notably, not always. Hard to say, but there'll be a resistance level there highlighted. And then on the 29th, it looks like likely opening lower on the 29th. It's a half day. We've got an opportunity on a multi-day scale there. I'll talk about in more detail towards the end of the reading. We've got the truce card energy taking place there. We've got volatility near the day's high, and we've got a decline on a 1-day chart, increasing with the momentum moving forward into the day's low there. All right, guys, I'm going to give you the highest high and the lowest low timing, as well as the best trades that I see throughout the month. Before I do that, though, let's take a look and see how we're doing for October thus far. So far, this is pretty solid, guys. All right, so October starts here, right? We have this high. October starts here with this dotted line. That's the first day of October, right? We have this high on the 1st. the upper end of a range highlighted there. And then we have this move from resistance down and then back taking place on the 3rd. That's the Ace of Wands. And then this big move to the upside on the 4th to where we have a most likely possibility of another high. And we look how close we came to that first day's high. So this was pretty solid. It was a failed attempt to break through resistance. And then there was a sharp decline in there, both on the day of and then on the preceding day. I did expect us to come back to highs here towards early in the day on the 7th. That didn't quite come to fruition. But we did see a pretty big move to the downside. That's that opportunity at the beginning of the day with the wick. That's that opportunity, right, where we moved to the upside first, the Princess of Swords opportunity. Then we had this sharp decline. So far, this is pretty solid, guys. And our September reading was also super solid. You would have, based on the trades here, you would have made money here opening up a short at resistance. You would have made money here opening up a short on the 3rd at resistance and closing it at some point below, and also opening up along some point below this resistance, which is the key when you have that Princess of Swords or Ace of Swords price level, to open up along when we're below it in the midst of a decline out of it, and then you use that price level as an exit. So we came back to it and blew through it. That would have been a really solid trade right there. And then if you opened up a short position for a multi-day swing on either the 4th and or on the 5th, you would have been very happy by the end of the day on the 5th. Really solid stuff, guys. Hopefully people are making some good money. I see some angel investor donations every now and again. You know, I think most people probably don't follow through on that. That's human nature, but that doesn't give you the right not to, my friends. You should. In any case, so far October's looking really solid. So let's give you the highest high and the lowest low for November, as well as the best trades that we see. Oh, and then at the end of the video, again, I'm going to tell you about how you can get the early access subscription, which gives you the Discord trade alerts and the live updated trading view chart link. I'm also going to explain a little bit about Mercury retrograde and how the first phase of the Mercury retrograde chart pattern strategy, the first phase takes place during November. It's super important to talk about, so I'll get into that too. All right, so as far as the highest highs and the lowest lows, all right, so there's a couple places where we're most likely to have the highest high. It's a little difficult to determine between these two because they're both really strong correlations indicating a highest high possibility. So it's probably that we see it twice. Could be either one. Hard to say, guys. Full card opportunity is often an indicator with this ruin so high up here. And then the Science card and the Wands card, and I'm going to double circle. That's the strongest possible location of a highest high. Probably that we're seeing it again here, first here, and then we're seeing it again with this Princess of Wands. But this is the strongest possible location. And then it is possible that we come back to it here. It's a little unclear, but it is a possibility that we come back to it over here. I'm going to put a question mark there. The reason why I say that, guys, is because we've got this crossfitting congruency here with the Works card, which was the preview card from October's reading. It's also the low significator card of October. So it's indicating that we would have a lower price level here in November, is my sense, than we had in October. But the Works card also fits pretty well with the Change card, which is the late card for November. So my sense is that in the later part of November, we're seeing some price swings. We might actually come back to the highs. A lot of indications that that's the high right there. And we'll probably have a lowest low thus far over here as well. As far as lowest lows are concerned, here on the 18th, here on the 29th, we might see it here around the end of the second week. Either that or it'll be a lowest low thus far, and very likely a lowest low thus far here on the 6th. This is probably the most lucrative opportunity of the year. The lucrative part of the opportunity isn't actually November, but November, based on the pre-shadow of Mercury retrograde, will give us a very strong idea of what a chart pattern will look like in the post-shadow. That's where the significant trade opportunity is, like the real trade opportunity is. So there's usually a pivot point on the day of the start of the shadow. So here we should see a pivot on the 7th, and the Ace of Wands really does indicate a pivot. And then we should see a pivot here around the 25th or the 26th. And the best way to follow this stuff, guys, is just to follow along again with the live Discord trade alerts and live updated trading view charts in real time, because as we get closer, obviously any holes in the, that I couldn't see, they become much clearer. And in real time, I can see what the market's going to do like so easily based on like following the cards and seeing what's happening. It's very easy. I've been doing it for so many years. So the main trade here from the standpoint of a multi-day swing, what I gathered right off the bat about November by looking at the 1 year, just to recap, is that the November low will be within close time proximity to a highest high for the year, and it'll either be an important technical price level on a multi-year scale at the low or at the highest high for the year, or both, hard to say. But that November low is, again, within close time proximity to a highest high, and then it looks like we probably have this huge move out of the November low back to highest highs to the beginning of December, and we'll have to look at that in more detail when we get into the monthly reading by the day for December. But as of right now, that looks like a pretty solid opportunity. So we were looking for a buy opportunity, open up a long position for swing trade. That would be likely the main trade here. My sense is that you definitely want to have save some capital for the last day of the month here on the 29th to open up a long position. Yeah, and then it might be that we don't have opportunity to capitalize on the low. Like it might be that the low is taking place in the pre-market and therefore it's not tradable. And by the time we get into tradable time frame, it might be moving to the upside, hard to say. But that's not exactly where I would add to it. I think this is probably the spot where I would add to it. If I did feel tempted, I would add a very little amount here on the 18th. Maybe if there's opportunity, a very little amount on the 21st towards the end of the day. But what I'm looking for is this 29th early in the day opportunity, partial day to open up a long position. And I might even leave a little bit left in cash just in case this ends up being a lower price level on the first day of December. But you can see December's a rally increasing with momentum moving forward in time and likely takes us to a prominent high, if not a higher high than we have here, probably the same high. All right, so that's the main like multi-month kind of swing trade. As far as the main multi-day swing trade within the month of November, we definitely want to take advantage of the 7th here, this rally on the 7th into a highest high. You might have opportunity on the 8th as well, hard to say. But here on the 7th, I would look for opportunity there early in the day, most likely. Whenever we have a highest high thus far, and if we do see a highest high thus far on the 6th, I might open up a little bit of a short position. But on the 7th is where I want to like really pull the trigger on the short position. I'm looking to hold that short position probably into the 14th. But if the 14th doesn't end up being a lowest low thus far, then I'm going to wait till the 18th and pull the trigger there. All right, so this full card opportunity is a little interesting here. There's a couple ways you could probably play this. My sense is that we're likely going to open lower on the 4th than where we close on the 1st. If I'm right about then we open lower, then I would say it's a great opportunity to open up a long position for a day trade, and you're going to want to close that day trade midday when we have a breakout to a highest high thus far. So that's the day trade. It's a little tricky because we see the high ahead of us, but very likely in the breakout there on the midday on the 4th, breakout on a multi-day scale midday on the 4th, you could probably open up a short and close the short as early as the beginning of the day on the 6th. If I'm wrong about that and you can't close the short there, then what I would say is add to the short, or if you're significantly out of the money in options or something, then you're going to want to open up another short position at a better strike here, but it'll probably be the same high, my sense, or higher. Either way, so when you open up the short here for the multi-day swing, if you have an expiration out past, like probably out on the 22nd, then there's going to be several opportunities for you to close out of that short if we're wrong about it here. And that's probably the best way to do a short, is to have it with like multiple exits ahead, and then you can hold it like when there's some scary risky behavior, you can hold it so that your long positions that you're trading, you'll feel more confident in them. It's kind of like hedging in a way, but I like to do shorts with multiple exits just in case you're wrong, Yeah, and so if we're at a lowest low thus far, first thing in the morning on the 4th, another way you could play it is open up a long position to close on the 7th. Either way, on the 7th, you want to be getting into a short position. You might get another opportunity on the 4th to add to it. Okay, and so another place that you could close out of the short is going to be early in the day on the 12th. And rather than closing out of a short, what I'm picking up on there is that we're going to want to roll your puts out, like roll the expiration or the strike price or something like that, because we're going to go lower still. But we will have a notable move to the upside midday there on the 12th, so not a bad place to exit out if you don't have a strong risk tolerance. There is some possibility around the 14th, 15th of it, but more likely what you'll end up doing is closing out of it on the 18th. And that's only if you haven't already seen a good opportunity to close out for a good profit. They're called short for a reason. Do not hesitate. Rule of thumb, guys, when you have that question, should I take profits or should I hold? Yes, take profits. There's so many opportunities. Don't get in the habit of missing them when they come to you. So if we're at a lowest low thus far on the 15th, I would say I'd open up a partial long position, and I do it after we've declined away from multiple failed attempts to break through resistance. Just to be clear, a partial long, and then if there's better opportunity on the 18th, what most likely there is, but it might not be, so that's why you open partial. If there's better opportunity on the 18th, that's where I would complete the long position for this next trade, which I would want to cash out of here on the 20th towards the beginning of the day at a peak, and it'll be an important range on a multi-day scale. We'll decline from that range. That's an opportunity to open up a long position and close when we revisit that range, probably at the cusp of the 20th or the 21st. At those two peaks as well, you could open up a short position, close that short position at the end of the day on the 21st. And then again, don't miss out on the end of the month here. If you really don't want to miss out, and this seems like a good spot, maybe add a little bit of a long position here. This is, whether or not this is the lowest low, besides the point, this is a solid place during the half day, the day after Thanksgiving, to open up a long position for this rally that'll probably take us back into highs on like a multi-month scale. All right, my friends, that's SPY for November 2024. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to show you now how to get the early access subscription on our website, Tarot for Traders, which gets you the earliest access to any of our public posts, as well as access to our SPY Discord trade alerts, which we day trade regularly. And we also do swing trades as well, but that's the one where if you're a day trader, you want that. And then we also give you access to the live updated trading view chart for SPY. So whenever we make a drawing or an entry or an exit, you get that live updated as well. So the way that you get early access on our website, Tarot for Traders, you hover over order now here, click on subscriptions, right here, early access, subscribe. All right, so this is an example of what our Discord trade alerts look like. Early access subscribers give you guidance throughout the day as far as what I see happening and where the opportunities are. And there's always this chart that you can link to, which will open up a browser window in real time and show you these important price levels. It's super undervalued, but we want to make sure that we continue to grant access to people. We're accessible to people that are less fortunate financially, because those are the people that need it the most. So if you're not one of those people, you got tons of money, help out the channel so we can help other people. And that's SPY for November 2024. Let me know what you think by hitting that like button. As always, make sure to follow that rule of karma. Blessings to all my angel investors. I will see you guys on the next one.